So the first game we're going to look at, and I haven't looked at this game yet, so you're seeing it for the first time with me. I'm going to activate an engine and then activate a second engine. So this first engine we're going to see, and by the way, black lost this game, and my student plays King's Indian Defense. So white is the grandmaster we're analyzing, and as you see, this is an unusual response. This is the kind of thing that you don't like to see, and probably would be played in a simul. People taking them out of the book. So the first response to this is like, okay, to a good player, you play d5. Now I'm going to activate a second engine here. And this engine, and by the way, this is Stockfish 8, the second engine, isn't saying d5, saying playing c5. And yet white still has a advantage. So this isn't going to really help my student very much, my King's Indian playing student. So the reason I chose this game is this person is playing the King's Indian, and already, as you see, Stockfish 8 says that against this, if you play g6, the game gets a little bit worse, because white really hasn't played c4 yet, and they can play knight to c3 according to this. Now let's look at the engine over here, and it's recommending knight plays c3. So what's going on here is it appears like white's going to force this game, if he does this correctly, according to the engines, into some sort of inferior form of the Pirates. So now let's take another look. Okay. This person doesn't do that. They play knight to f3. Okay. And now finishing the development appears to be the order of the day for each engine. Let's just stick with Stockfish 8 here for a little while. That's my preferred engine anyway. Now it says white should play e3, and yet here we come with the interesting inferior form of the Pirates. And Stockfish 8 says at this point d5 is practically forced, which is the kind of game that a King's Indian and a Pirates player is not used to playing. This gets into some sort of hybrid modern defense type situation. d5 says both engines. So white has successfully forced black into an unpleasant situation if they're not used to this formation. I don't know many people who are going to play this. It's not even a Grunfeld because white hasn't played c4 yet. So it started off like some sort of interesting opening. Now let's see what else occurs for white. Okay, black does play d5. So now we're in uncharted territory for the King's Indian player. Now let's see what went wrong here. Look at this move, knight to b5. This is kind of a Patsy looking move, isn't it? So it's easily defended by knight to a6, which we're just going to go ahead and see what the point of this is. Evidently, it's looking at what it is that black should be doing here. And it would appear like the engine wants bishop to f5, and the other engine doesn't even consider bishop to f5. It says move knight to h5, which is interesting. Knight to h5, bishop to g5, castles. Okay. Also says it's an even game. And this just says bishop to f5, bishop to f5. Okay, so we don't see any glaring interesting things yet happening. Let's see as the game goes on what happens here. So this player took the second engine's recommendation of moving c6. So we can't really blame him for that. So knight back to c3. And now it says move knight to h5 and just let him double your pawns over here if he's so disposed. So he moves knight to c7. Okay. So now we're analyzing this both directions. h3 is what's being recommended now for white because of knight to h5. He's got a strong bishop sitting outside a pawn chain that says preserve that bishop with h3. And that's a grandmasterly move, actually. So let's go back another move. Before we move knight to c7, knight to c3 is correct. Okay. Knight to c7. Neither engine recommended taking the knight off. Well, here, knight to h5, bishop takes a6. So let's continue to advance through a few moves. We haven't seen anything interesting out there. He does move h3. So this person likes preserving the bishop outside the pawn structure. That can also be attacked via knight to e6. So he wants to keep that strong bishop on that painful diagonal. Castles occurs. Bishop to e2. So why does he play bishop to e2 as opposed to d3? Stockfish 8 loves it. He prefers bishop to e2. A quiet move. Okay. Now there's a move, knight to e8. That no one is, well, here we go. Stockfish 8 says knight on f to e8. This is the kind of opening sequence that we have to get used to. So nobody has said that this is going to occur this way. This person is headed toward e4 with his knight. Notice we're in a completely even game. So this is just even jockeying game. This computer's in love with moving rook pawns, wants to a4. This computer doesn't even consider it, says b3. It's afraid of a knight coming to c4. Why b3? Okay, so let's continue on. a5. It's an interesting idea. So now we're looking at white has established a forward outpost. This computer's recommending challenging it. This computer's recommending pushing pawn again and trying to create queenside weaknesses. In either case is an interesting, decent plan, so there's very little difference here. I would tend to move knight to d7. Okay. And that's what this person moves. So no complaints about this grandmaster playing the grandmaster so far, really. Bishop to f1, a4. These are all computer #1 moves, Stockfish #1 moves. Now we'll see he moves b3 instead of that. Okay. He's directly challenging that pawn. And black is being advised to maintain the tension with knight to b6. This computer doesn't consider that. Once knight takes e5, d takes e5, a takes b3. That's a little sharper line, isn't it? D takes e8, takes b3, a takes, rook takes, queen takes, knight to e8, bishop to h2. Even game. Stockfish 8 just recommends knight to b6 here. Okay. We're going to have to hurry up because we're going to overrun our limit here, time-wise. So let's look for some big changes. He moved knight to b6, which is what I like. That's maintaining some tension. And now f6 is beginning to get an advantage for black. So we have kind of a King's Indian formation here that's working out pretty well. e5 looks very tempting and is played. Bishop to h2, #1 move. And now knight to e4. Knight to e4. See what happens before knight to e4. Is anybody recommending knight to e4 here? Because to me that's a strange move. Okay, it has to be very forcing and powerful. It's a good idea to move bishop to f5 here, I think. Let's see. Nobody's recommended knight to e4, and yet it works out. Okay, so let's go forward with it. c5 equalizes, that's what he moves. f5. Okay, white gets an advantage. White gets an advantage through not playing pawn takes pawn. There is a little bit of an issue here. I mean, there's a pin on the D file, so he can wait to dissolve this. Now wants pawn takes pawn again, even game. Now white's beginning to build an advantage here simply because he's got control of the A file, I presume. Let's see what the other computer says. Other computer says half a pawn up, wants black to move in the corner. Doesn't like checks, wants to free up the knight for reasons, okay. Let's head toward the end of this. Knight to d5. Tempting post. It's played. Bishop to c4 is pinning. b6 chases. And yet that's what a recommended move is. Knight to a5. Now if the king were in the corner, we'd have some strange stuff here, like maybe knight takes b followed by a fork. But now we retreat, and it looks like that's a losing move, or very close to it. As the other computer has us up after a check, has white up significantly, and so does this. So basically there was a minute error here of queen to d8. Bishop to e6 was a better move. For one thing, it's a terrible bishop. You want to trade it off. The question is, like, well, simply after taking, isn't the b pawn loose? This doesn't recommend. C takes d5, knight takes b6 is why this computer dismissed it. Okay, so we'll continue on here. So there's not a lot to learn from this game except that white is a patient grandmaster and is building advantages and just made an error. Taking control of the file, probably capturing wasn't the best. Now he has full control of the file. So why did jump so far? B takes d5, B takes d5. King moving in the corner. We're going to end up losing the b pawn. That's what's going to happen. What's going to happen, the reason I went from up 1 to up 3 in a lost game is because after the dissolving of this stuff, we're going to get bishop to c7. That's going to win that b pawn. So moving in the corner is the blunder. So not a lot to learn from this game. There's a blunder. A grandmaster's blunder. Now this game's going to be over. So we don't really need to see any more. And what we've learned is that we need a better line against the bishop to f4 right away, forcing us to play d5 and getting us out of the King's Indian. And so even though that's a small bit of information, we can now start looking at what to do against bishop to f4. Like maybe play c5, something along those lines. So this game is lost, as you can see, and we can shut this down. So that is the beginning of a fruitful endeavor at examining their style.